Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Love and Lightning podcast. I'm Dr. L.A. Campbell. I'm here with Maestra Paula Leeper, and we are so very glad that you are tuning in for another really cool edition. At least we think it's a cool edition. So before we get started with our fabulous new guest, we are going to have Maestra Paula set the sacred space and with a prayer.
Thank you, Dr. L.A. We face the east direction, the place of our grandfather, the place of humbleness, the place of new beginnings. We ask for the light to enter our bodies, to enter into the top of our heads, to our tonales, and we invite the light into our voice, into our hearts, into our bellies. We ask for your comfort. We ask for your guidance. And we turn our faces towards the west as we watch the sun go down, as we remember that one day our sun will go down. This is the place of women and the place of releasing and letting go, but also the place of warriors, the women warriors, the feminine warriors. We invite those energies to be around us, to help us to understand our path, to understand our walk, to understand our experiences, to understand the things that we can let go of, and that it's okay. We turn our faces towards the south direction, the place of water, the place of our minds, the matik energy. We invite these energies to come in and help us to reclaim the masculine, to help us to reclaim our masculine divine energies. We ask for the masculine to be present in our conversations, for that warrior to be available to us, to call to our personal power, and to allow that to rise up in us as we begin to bring the two parts together for the Ometeot. We turn our faces towards the north direction, the place of our ancestors, but also the place of our grandmothers. We ask for your wisdom, for your light, for your consciousness, for your harmony and your balance. We ask for our well ancestors to join us on this journey today, to be in our conversations, to help us to say the messages that you have. If you have any messages for us, if you have any messages for our listeners, to speak through us with that wisdom and with that clarity. And we turn towards Father Sky and the cosmic gourd, to all of the planets, all of the cosmic energy is the place of all knowledge and all wisdom. And we give our love and gratitude to Mother Earth for allowing us to be on the planet all at the same time, all in the same space right now. And to our own hearts that we speak truth as we talk about our experiences, as we talk about our lives, as we talk about the things that are dear to our hearts. And so it is, Ometeot and Aho.
We are back. We are back with a really cool new guest. So I'm going to introduce to everybody DK of DK Koncoctions. She is a reflexologist, a musician, and she takes aromatherapy to a whole new magical level. I was blessed enough to be able to have some sessions with her, both through reflexology and then also just getting to experience the really cool sensations that she brews. And that's the only way I know to describe it is I literally have to say, and she will attest to me literally saying this, is that she had let me smell one creation that she'd made and then another one. And on the third one, I literally stopped because it blew my mind. And I'm like, this is like magic in a bottle, you know? So it was just dumbfounding to me. And so I'm like, we have to tell the world about how this works because I need to understand it too. It's truly magic. So DK brews things like nobody's business. And I was just hoping that she would be able to tell us about her and to tell us how she came upon this ability because it's a really unique skill for sure. So everybody welcome DK.
Oh, thank you, LA. That's so sweet of you. Yeah, it's interesting to hear other people kind of describe their experience of what I do. A lot of it is honestly still unfolding. I think a lot of my initial, drive to make medicine came from my own need to relieve pain in a way that was unique and magical to my own senses and to my own being. So, living a life of sports as a kid and music as a kid, and I sure used the heck out of all of my extremities, and then went into a life of corporate, knowing that I wanted to be of service and help people. But uh, towards the end of that chapter of my life, I realized I didn't want to help root cause problems and tech issues and all of those types of things. I really wanted to help people reconnect to themselves and kind of get to the root of their own ailments or challenges in that way. So I found my way to the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts here in Tempe, Arizona. Was originally drawn to the herbalism program, wanting to make medicine. I knew that was it. But lo and behold, we have to kind of go through our own healing journeys in order to allow some of those gifts to come forward. And I got pulled into the Mind-Body Transformational Psychology program instead of the full herbalism program. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that I saw the reason for that. And I've always kind of felt the need to bridge the gap between that Western and Eastern mindset, or that corporate left brain and right brained healing arts world. So that's kind of been my walk through life. And once I started to, make medicine and work with essential oils and other plant medicines, I really learned that they could speak to me in a different way than I was being taught out of the textbook. Um, Coming from having an anchor in music and having a lot of musician friends, I eventually learned that I could translate what music smells like. So with, sitting with some friends, new release albums, or watching them tour across the country, I would encapsulate that in a tiny little bottle, which served as a nice little token of, merchandise for their fans, or, if someone wanted to kind of really dive into other layers of sound, they can use their other, sensory experiences. So that was a unique landing point for me in being able to combine my passion, my anchor, with this innate ability of working with plants and ultimately being of service, to people. So that was kind of the entry point. And then, yes, adding reflexology in the mix was really important for me to be able to have a little bit of hands-on contact, but not have the full massage experience. That wasn't really going to be suitable for my body, and kind of knowing that was an interesting compromise. But yeah, I've learned to work with these oils in a way that, there's definitely a therapeutic action to each one of them. I've studied in, the pharmacology space of this, and can certainly cure an ailment and, make something for somebody. But my jam, pun intended, is looking at really the olfactory memory, and, like, smelling something and it taking you back and time traveling to that one moment where you first smelled it, or something that reminds you of that really hits home for me, and is really the focus of why I blend for people. For example, I've witnessed a friendship between two dear close buddies, and they're just so sweet and endearing to each other. I bottled a blend for their friendship so they could both have a bottle. They live across the country, and they can both kind of tap into that when they need to feel each other's energy. um, let's see, I'm trying to think of some other examples. I do event sense as well. So for example, a musician friend of mine has done some, self-produced little mini events, and we've done two scents now, one in a couple years ago, one for this year. Essentially, anybody that's there can kind of soak up the whole vibe of the event, but then go back to that bottle and really transport themselves there and at any point in time, really. So those are more of the things that I like to explore in my practice.
Yeah, it blows my mind. I don't even, I actually have some of your bottles here. We'll go on to real questions in a minute, but I, the ones you let me know, so I've got,
Yep, that's my was that the love and lightning blend?
this was, I'm not sure which one that one is. Let me see. This one's the Love and Lightning one.
Yeah, I've heard of.
And I haven't, Paul, you haven't gotten to smell this one yet because she just did it just like literally just a few days ago. And this one didn't have a label on it, so I don't know which one that one is,
Oh yeah, that one I
but
think was for the I did a collaboration with a mental health supplement company, and that's really played a huge role in my experiences is making oils for the more mental and emotional aspects of life, and supporting the spiritual realms that we all kind of navigate through. And like I said, therapeutic blending, that's very left brain for me, that's very in the books, that's very like I can resource all of that. But when I blend, I tend to let that space of me kind of take a seat, um, and not intellectualize any of this, and really kind of be an open vessel for whatever recipe wants to kind of come down through me. And I'm not able to do that if I'm too much in my own mind. So uh, that became very challenging when it came to taking tests in school and rattling things off at the tip of my tongue when someone says, oh, what's a good oil for this or this. I'm happy to go ahead and resource that and take a look at that for you. After all these years of doing it, it still isn't something that I want to even commit to my memory. That tends to get in the way. So I like to really let these oils pick themselves, and it's just been really fun to see how it's unfolded and what it really like. I bottle experiences. I love having a call with somebody and quickly making an oil so I can smell it and get right back into the essence of that call, or send it to somebody when they need a little extra support in their pocket.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
DK, this sounds so amazing. Tell me about your process of how you're intuiting, how you're experiencing what you're calling experiences to make a blend out of. How does that come into you?
It's funny because sometimes I'll be caring about my normal day to day, doing chores, and all of a sudden in that flow state, something will just come to me and I just have to go in my healing room and I just have to be around whatever it is that's making noise, so to speak. And then, I mean, in the very beginning, let's see, I've almost been working with this medicine now about 10 years or so. I would honestly just kind of tap into my meditative state. I was doing a lot of meditation instruction at the time when I graduated myself into school. And I would really just kind of get grounded, embodied, and hold my hands, close my eyes, not even looking, holding my hands over all my bottles and just kind of waiting until something needed me to pick it up. I've blended a lot like that. And once I kind of have the different oils that I'm going to work with, and, in school, my teacher was always kind of like, that's too many in one bottle. I said, no, it's not. I can make it work. They're teaching us to blend with, 3, 4 oils. And I'm over here sitting with 8 or 9 bottles. And I somehow just in that inner listening, I know how much of each one wants to then go in each bottle, who wants to dance with who. It's a very, again, like musically influenced thing for me, spending so much time either playing music, with music, behind the scenes of the music industry. I mean, it's kind of infiltrated my whole life. So it's a kind of a dance and a symphony of smells in a way. When I'm blending music, for example, I will listen to a song over and over and over and over and over again on repeat. And it's just something that, again, when I get out of my own way, I'm just the receiver of this. I'm just the one to translate. So that's really my only job. That's really my only process, is to just bring myself so completely down from the ethers and down from any other places I may be, and really in tune with my breath, to be able to even hear those subtleties from all of these different plants.
So is it, I'm just trying to imagine as you're talking about it, is it the plant that's talking to you? Is there a source that just comes through you? I mean, you're talking about the symphony of notes in music and the symphony of notes in smells. So is it the plants that are talking to you?
Sometimes, I think sometimes when they start to do that, I recognize that I'm more in my left brain when that is coming through really clear and articulate. And
Mhm.
so like I said, I kind of tend to back away from that because I don't want the knowledge per se, in English translation to come through. I just kind of want it to be this hollow moment in time that I can preserve. I think that comes from my love of photography, and just being able to snap a moment in time and just pull down what I hear. And again, a lot of it is by feel. I'll feel it through my hands, which bottles want to come out of my, large collection.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's an interesting question, because I think once I have everything that I'm blending, then I go back out and look at the translation. I'll look at the emotional aspects. I'll look at the therapeutic aspects. I'll look at why these oils wanted to come together in the first place. I'll do that kind of after I come back out of trance.
Mhm.
That tends to be the most authentic way for me to work with this medicine, is truly to be as least involved as possible, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. I love that you use the word trance because that's what it is, right? We go into that space of spirit so that we can hear clearly. Um, I find that plants have personalities for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think I'll always be learning those as the longer I work with these medicines. The more I remember, the more I feel is innate within me. It's like, oh, no wonder I know how to work with these things so effortlessly. It's like I've done this before. That's how
Yeah.
it felt the minute I started making, salves and chapsticks and things like that. It was a neighbor friend of mine that actually introduced me to oil infusions, and I was like, man, this is coming really easily. Like I've done it before. So
Yeah.
I just kind of trust it. And that's like one of the things that I have ultimate trust in. There are some other parts of me that I may not feel so confident about in that regard, but knowing that I have that unlimited, like everyone's like, how do you make so many different recipes? Everything is so custom. Everything is so unique. Well, because we're tapped into limitlessness and abundance. And I've made thousands of recipes probably in the years. So I think that's the only way to do it, is by tapping into that flow state.
Yeah. Beautiful. I have a
Mhm.
technical question too. And then I'll stop. I might stop asking questions. I don't know. So, how you wave your hands over and they speak to you through your fingers, do you find that different materials will make it different how you feel them? Like some have the rubber tips, some have the plastic tips. Um, is
Oh, as far as the actual bottle, the vessels.
mm,
Yeah, I don't love rubber tip stuff at
mm,
all.
yeah.
I've actually had some, different vials of things eat through that, and kind of,
Mhm,
that I don't want extra little pieces of rubber in my blends. Um, I I tend to prefer, like, when I blend stuff, I keep things in, dark amber glass, or trying to keep more of the light out, and things like that. I'm pretty particular with how I bottle things. I usually include like crystals and stones, and I'll use a tuning fork as well to tune blends at the end, just kind of mix everything together to kind of get those other frequencies and energies out that may have come from, you know, packaging and things of that sort. But
Yeah.
yeah, I prefer not rubber droppers, unless I'm using something really quickly, like a hair oil or something that I really need a lot of at a time.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that you brought up the tuning forks,
Yeah.
because you also, when you did knocking my thing, I'm so excited, I'm knocking my microphone. Because when you did my reflexology session, you finished with tuning forks as well. Now, I mean, I use tuning forks in a lot of sound therapy stuff. So I'm a big believer in sound and that vibrational thing, because I think it's so critical. But I love the fact that you brought that up with doing it, because I would have never, well, I probably would have thought about it, using it, because I use them physically with people too, but I would have never thought about using them to time warp, magic warp, whatever you're doing with those oils. I would have never. Where did that come from? Was it just an instinct thing where you said, "Yeah,
Yeah, I was
I'm
gonna
going to put
say,
the music"?
yeah, I was gonna say I would have never thought of it either if I left my brain up to it. It was, you know, when I was in my studies, I did the Mind-Body Transformational Psychology program on purpose because I could kind of flow in a lot of different modalities aside from my certifications in aromatherapy and reflexology. So of course I did sound healing. That was a must. And I really just feel like tuning forks are, I mean, and even my singing bowls are just an extension of my fingers. And so I'm not going to sit in there and swirl a blend up with my fingers, right? But I can mix it, and then I'll tap it with, I have one of the weighted tuning forks, the 128.
Yeah, I use the weighted ones too. Yeah.
And, you know, granted, yes, they're good for like bones and joints and placing on the body. And I have a quartz, like a gem foot that goes on the bottom. And I was like, well, why don't I just tap this bottle real quick? And I like the sound of
I
it.
just
It
love
was
it.
like, you can actually hear it and get that resonance and that
Right.
back. And I was like, what is that doing to the contents of the bottle if it's doing this to me? You know, so I think it just became part of my practice because I have these instruments that I know I'm supposed to be using. And I always kind of regretted when I stopped playing music as a kid. And so I think picking up some of these instruments and really diving into like the gong at school, oof, that was like one of my favorites. I think I need one of those in my collection. But yeah, it's a huge part of what I do and what keeps me anchored throughout the session. And it's for the person on my table as well as it is for me, to stay kind of in attunement with what I know I'm going to be doing for that person.
So cool. It's just.
How did you come to the space of taking this training that you did, the mind-body psychology or transformation?
Yeah, that was an interesting step. I didn't go to college right out of high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I just went to work. And again, in the customer service field, I knew I wanted to help people, but wasn't really sure how other than just doing that. Started to get burnt out, as most people do in corporate, started to question my mortality, my existential purpose, quite a few things, in feeling unfulfilled all day. So, in combination of my next door neighbor kind of introducing me to her process, and you know, it's funny. I lived in the valley for 20 years now, but at the time less, and I had never heard of this school before. I'd never heard of Sweeha, never heard of anything of the sort. And so she kind of opened my eyes a little bit to the program. Again, herbalism was was the target. And I think because I needed to work through some of my own challenges, my own obstacles, my own psyche, I was very highly directed towards the Mind-Body Transformational Psychology program instead. And I'm grateful for that because it gave me a lot of tools to integrate into my own healing journey. I've had quite a run with some of those things in this physical body. And so I think it became so appealing because I, one, wanted to help myself, but in helping myself, it's like, well, who better to help other people than someone that's been through it and that can be a success story and that can overcome their traumas and their, physical ailments and things that have kind of stacked up against them. Like, it is possible to take a more holistic approach and incorporate healing as an art, truly. Like, I really needed
Right.
to live that. So I kind of was, uh, my intuition maybe wasn't so definable back then, but I was listening to something bigger that was compelling me to move towards this deeper inner work. Um, and boy, has it been a integration period ever since. You really become your
Yeah.
case study, I guess you
Mhm.
could say, once you finish something like that.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
yeah.
I find that in my own practice with pain in the body and bringing the soul back, there's always a theme. What's the theme of what you work with?
Gosh, that's a great question. I think there's a big theme in presence. Um, and I'm just kind of reaching a new stage of that true, like, mind body companionship. I want to say integration, but not, I don't want to say it over and over again. It's really teamwork that um
Mhm.
I think has been the reminder for me in every stage of this is, relying on your own innate abilities and trusting your own innate abilities and really listening for those and quieting everything else down. And, there could be a lot of pain signals and a lot of chaos outside the door and, whatever is going on, but whatever is internal is always going to be that saving grace and that source of whatever is bigger in the lesson, in the blessings. I think that's what I designed my logo around, even was kind of that bigger source energy of what I needed to rely on throughout each stage of my, injuries or
Mhm.
surgeries or, whatever I've had to lean on in the Western medicine field. My roots and my um, spiritual hand and all of it has been very critical to include.
Beautiful.
One of the things we kind of delve into here on this channel is really looking at how some of those dark night of the soul or those sort of maybe adversarial, I don't like to say negative, but it's because it's all positive in the end because it teaches you something. But
Mhm.
the adversarial things that we kind of go through, how did some of those things in your life kind of propel you to really move into where you are today? Because you have such a I'm going to use the word ability to surrender. And I don't mean that, I mean that in the most positive way, because it's something I struggle with all the time is
Yeah.
just letting go and allowing it. I just, yeah, it's a tough struggle
It's a
for
tough
me,
one. Yeah,
but it's horrible for me, really. But you do it. That's the one thing, like, you do really, really beautifully is you just have this fantastic ability to let it just kind of navigate through you. So how did maybe some of those adversarial things in life, how did it kind of propel you to be more in this really aware and awakened state?
I mean, the alternative was an even darker place to travel. So I felt like a lot of my resilience comes from probably an ability to reshape things and really alchemize things and really see the silver lining and err on the side of gratitude. I mean, my gratitude practice has truly been probably the staple
Mhm.
in a lot of that. I had a I have currently still a acupuncturist that always reminds me that things are happening for us, not to us. And
Good
when
point.
I could really separate from that, and I feel like that statement's actually redefined itself a few times in
Mhm.
my life. Keeping a really sound hold on all of that stuff really kind of helps me, surrender, more acceptance, if you want to call it that. Not really so much going with the flow of things, but I still try to be an active participant in the flow of things and know that even if sucky situations are on the table, like
Mhm.
there is still a table for there to be a sucky situation on, you know? I think of my spinal fusion. I had a pretty big metamorphosis with that in particular. It came shortly after I was done with school, and um it was dark, and it was lonely, and it was isolating, and it was so treacherous to like remember all the things that we take for granted. You drop something and you normally can just bend down
Mhm.
and grab it,
Yeah.
but with a freshly fused lumbar spine, you have to go find the grabber. And God forbid you drop that grabber, you got to go find the other grabber to go pick all the things up. It's just your humility and like vulnerability just in this human experience is such a great teacher. And I
Mhm.
think I've had to learn from pain. Like I've had to, instead of resisting it, I live with it every day. And not that I'm always going to be friends with it, but maybe I will be. And, it's just a matter of, again, that teamwork with different parts of yourself to know that there's temporariness in all of it.
Mhm.
And, I've been through some hard stuff, and I've been through some harder stuff. And then I've been through some stuff that's maybe not as hard because you
Mhm.
implement the lessons each time. So, um, I think just what I've been handed, I've thankfully been around people that have taught me alchemy, and I had to learn it at a pretty young age on my own. So that's come in handy, I guess,
Mhm.
as the years have gone on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Paula, you got any
Oh,
other questions?
oh, well, we can look at some more questions, right? Uh, let's see. We have a list of questions, but you kind of are answering them as we go along. It's so
Yeah, very.
beautiful. So let's not look at a list. Let me ask you this. What do you offer to your community through your experiences? How do you relate to them to how would they find you? I mean, like, what kind of thing would I have that I would reach out to you for?
Mm,
I mean, we talked about the oils, a little bit about that you're a reflexologist. We've talked about a little bit of some of the experiences you've had in your spine, but why would I seek you out? How can you relate to me?
I've always been I've been given the feedback that I'm a really great sounding board. And in kind of exiting the corporate world, I'm looking at redefining a lot of how I can be supportive to community, especially in the chronic illness community. I've been involved in quite a bit of advocacy work as well, so that is one outlet. I've battled my way through some pretty difficult times with the corporate industry as well as the medical industry, and so I'm finding that my take on a lot of those things may be helpful to others that are maybe struggling in those same arenas. So I'm looking at how I can be of more support to the community in that regard now that my time is, a little bit more freed up from what I've just come out of. Um, like you said, yes, reflexology sessions, sound healing. I love making oils and custom blends for people. And, even just being in someone's corner is kind of my forte. Holding up that mirror and giving that reverb, as well as being open to like a communal reverb and reciprocity. It's a really organic thing. The right people seem to find me, and I seem to find the right kind of people. And I've never been one to want to like promote or push or solicit any type of business in that way, because that just doesn't feel organic for me, and that doesn't feel in integrity with what I'm here to do. And so in finding what I do. I mean, obviously there is a social media presence that we have to kind of all dabble in a little bit, but I really appreciate word of mouth. I really appreciate that unfolding, or, if someone sees a blend that I did at a festival, or, something like that, or someone gives something to them, they'll see what I do, like, oh, here's this website, or, oh, here's this QR code, or, oh, let me take a look at what she's about, and I trust that the right people will kind of come into my sphere in that way. Have you guys having me on today is a great privilege and opportunity to kind of re-speak what I am doing and what I'm here to do in the community, and kind of come out of my my shell, in a sense, of what I've been developing for a lot of years. So,
Right.
yeah.
It is difficult in our spirit to advocate for ourselves in this age that we're in, where we're on so much social media, and anyone can see us. But do we want to be seen that much, right? So lifting each other up and advocating for your gifts, that is part of the reason why Dr. Ale and I do this podcast, to advocate for one another, to lift each other up in the community and say, hey, this DK's got magic. She has got some magic potions. And she knows what she's talking about, and she's able to connect spiritually. She's able to listen to this bigger source, right? And bring that information in. Like you're working with some heavy, deep, powerful, potent magic that comes through you. Being able to access that is important. And that's what we want people to know, is that you are out there and that you can access that information without ego, without judgment. You know what pain is, you know what dark times are, and you have come to the other side. We don't become light workers unless we're working in the dark as well.
Oh, yeah.
Cannot do it. It's not possible. That's why it's love and lightning, right? Because it all goes together. You stand in the light, you're going to cast a shadow somewhere. So being an advocate for yourself is difficult. So we need each other to lift each other up and say, yeah, go see DK. I'm going to sign up with the session.
I know, right? Right.
For sure.
Yeah. And it's so fun because, with that ego to the side, and with a lot of my, again, left brain to the side, and it really opens up for each session. I know, sessions with you both are very similar in that we kind of just are open to what the here and now needs, and are extremely good at holding space for whatever that moment holds, because we can tap into, multiple different signals. As much as I loathe what happened in corporate for me, I do appreciate that it had me routinely tapping into my empathy and routinely looking at bigger picture to root cause something. So it may be challenging for me to do that for myself with all of the pieces, but if someone's sharing something with me, my pattern recognition and sort of the way my brain, works seems to help other people connect those dots within themselves and kind of look at something from a different perspective. So that's almost the best part about working with someone. And then, bottling it is just an added bonus. We can just bottle the session, and then you go back to your house. I am back in my life, and, you want to tap back into what space we shared. Just smell that oil, and you'll be right there. And we, infuse intention into everything. So
Right.
it's a special.
Can you tell us how a session would go with you?
Yeah, I mean, I like to start off with, if there's any, specific ailments or concerns or troubles or bothersome energy that's coming in, we want to obviously address that. And when I'm working on people, I kind of try to channel one of my dear instructors who's no longer with us. She is able to work through my hands quite well, thank goodness, because I would not be able to do this work without her. again, with that retention and like committing things to memory was not always my strong suit. But when I have these other power horses, like powerhouse people, you know, entities coming in to help me out, it definitely serves the greater good. But generally, you know, people want the reflexology, people want the nurturing time to just be still. I'm actually on my table right now, but I have a 20-pound amethyst mat that heats up, gets nice and hot and toasty, and it's very lovely. I'm in here often by myself, just doing my own work. But that tends to take people to a place where time doesn't really exist. And that's all I really want to do for people, is to interrupt that day-to-day routine. I mean, I was stuck in a corporate life where I had to put all of my basic essential needs second, third, fourth. Like the customer always comes first, the business comes first. But in putting myself first and helping other people put themselves first, we are our best version of ourselves. And so that's really the goal in someone coming to work with me, is to have that time, that stillness, get a little bit of that physical touch. I'll work on ears or feet, hands, any combination of that. There's a lot of bowls in here, so we have a lot of nice sound that can resonate. I have instruments that I will sometimes put on people. Like I have a monochord, I think I used on you, LA.
You did, and it was awesome.
It's just a really nice, I tune it to C sharp. It's a very nice heart opener. And people can cry here, people can laugh here, people can show up however they want. And that's something that I can then translate to an oil for you to take home. So we can use it on your feet while we're working. I can throw it in my diffuser if we have a longer session. There's cards to pull, there's stones to look at. You know, it's a essential sensory remedies is really what I wanted to bring to the table. I'm such a sensory person myself that made the most sense for me. Is kind of tapping into all of that for somebody within the time that we spend together. Like,
it is a very,
you know, like touching it. It's like everything in puzzles and instruments. I made this drum, you know, like there's a lot of things in here to explore. So I kind of like that free space.
It's just from my perspective, having been in that chair, is that it is totally a sensory experience, even if you're not expecting that. You know what I'm saying? And it's because just I'm so big on vibration and sound. That's what changes me, because I use my hands so much that I just respond better to that. I don't have a great sense of olfaction, so I don't smell very well. But I'm telling you, being able not only to have the touch, but then to have the vibration and the sound, and some of your deeper bowls are just, they're mesmerizing, you know. And that monochord, I'd never seen one before. And it was again, it was the coolest thing, just to be able, who knew that one note
I couldn't believe it.
I'm serious. Who knew that one note could just change your alignment, right? And it's
incredible.
amazing. So I learned a lot by just going through that process, and it was totally relaxing. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced before, with all the sights and the sounds and the smells. It was really invigorating, but relaxing.
Yeah, and I
And
think
aligning. Yeah.
we're so revved up, you know, with all the screens and all the
Yeah.
to-do lists and all
Yeah.
the, you know, chores and kids and partners and dogs, and it, like there's all these demands, and for like just a short period of time, those aren't allowed in here, you know. For that space alone, some people are like, wow, I just fell right asleep. Good, you probably haven't had a nap in a while. You know, like your nervous system probably needed every little bit of that. And, you know, I invite people to, you know, explore what I have, play with some instruments, look at some books, open up some oils, pull yourself some cards, you know, like see what your own intuition wants to include in this too. It's, again, I'm really big on reciprocity and like that team effort. There's not a, you know, hierarchy in this work. It's really meeting people where they're at and being excited to talk about whatever they bring to the table. It could be anything really. And it's something that I really hold in high regard here. Vulnerability and things of that sort. I mean, I did dabble in a little bit of life coaching and a few other, modalities at school, but I think naturally being in the communications industry and even I get that from my father, I think it's like the gift to connect with people. So that really is something that I enjoy doing the most here.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for anyone, or how can we connect with you?
Well, I will definitely share my socials with you guys. I can definitely be contacted a number of ways there on my website or on my Instagram. Um, I want to honor my grandmother in some parting words. I do work with her spirit quite a bit as well, and she always reminds me to be bold and be smart and stay true to my heart. And I think that is such a huge message in like what I do. And in my kind of coining of terms, I always say, be well, love loud, and smell the music. So I'll leave everybody with a little bit of that.
I love that. Smell the music.
Your face.
But it's true. Like I said, I'm mind blown. I mean, seriously, I just will never forget the moment a few weeks ago when I smelled that third fragrance, and I'm like, or that concoction. And I was just, I mean,
Yeah.
I know the look on my face. I probably look like an idiot because I'm just like,
No, that's what I look for.
I'm like, it's like the philosopher's stone, you know?
That's
It's just
honestly
like,
what I look for. I love watching people smell it because then I'll know if it really hits right.
right. And I don't
It
have a
is
good nose. I'm not joking when I say I don't have a good nose, you know? I really don't. I'm a terrible smeller, but there's just something about that. It goes straight to your brain.
There's a lot
And
of
you're
layers.
just like, like colors and the music is there. It's the craziest thing, but it's not crazy crazy in an absolutely cool, completely and utterly spiritual way. It was just, yeah, it was phenomenal. So it just, yeah, I'm just like, I need to understand this because I'm still wrapping my head around this because it just,
And I think the blend that I made for the podcast, there is a little bit of love and a little bit of lightning in it. Like I like to play with those notes, right? And so you get a little hint of more of the citrus at first, or maybe a little bit of the herby part of it later. Like it's just kind of fully encompassing in that way. So it's fun to play with those layers and watch each layer kind of hit the senses. And I always used to say, I can make your cells sing. I'm the molecular maestro in that way, right? So
I know. And for record, when I smelled it, I actually smelled the lightning first.
yeah. What does that say about you?
I know. Well, yeah, that encapsulates me in a nutshell because I was like, woo.
There's plenty of it in me as well. So yeah, I to smell it, Paula, and it was fun to make, and I love commemorating things like this. So thank you for having me
Great.
and being open to what I do.
Yeah. Tell us what your socials are. How can we find you?
Yeah, so DK's Concoctions, you can search DK apostrophe S Concoctions, just spelled with a K. But my handle is at D Concoctions, so I kind of shortened it a little bit. Website, same thing, dconcoctions.com. I also have a blog site, molecularmaestro.com. I will share all of that with you all as well, and email dconcoctions@gmail. It's pretty similar all the way across the board, but yeah, I'm hoping to do a little bit more out in the community, so we'll keep everybody updated on where I may be practicing in the future.
Yeah. And where are you now? Are you in Arizona?
Yeah, I'm in the Mesa Gilbert border.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Close to me.
Close.
Mhm.
Okay. Yes.
Not too far from me either. So
I know.
Well,
Thank
good
you again.
deal.
I appreciate you all so much for the great questions and getting me to talk about some of these things that I just love so much. I could go on
Yeah.
forever.
Thank you so
thank,
much.
yeah, we really appreciate the just getting into the conversation is really cool. Yeah, it's totally cool. So Maestra Paula, you want to close out our sacred
Oh,
space before we close out?
absolutely. I just got a whiff of Palo Santo as we're
Oh
in here.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't even normally have that in here. So it's not like residual. It just kind of popped up.
We'll take a whiff of this one.
So we face the east direction and we give our gratitude to the sunlight for the cellular memories of being in the light and being in the shadows. And we face towards the west to all of the things that we're purging and moving, getting rid of, and kicking out of the way. And so much gratitude. And to the south direction for our mind, thank you for being here. Thank you for being open. We turn our faces and our hearts towards our ancestors in the north and towards our grandmother. And just give thanks for all of the grandmother energies, as well as the grandfather energies that come in and guide us and give us these recipes and these ideas and the ability to sit still. And to Mother Earth for all of your plantitas, for all of the beautiful medicine that you've left here to help ourselves to remember, helping ourselves to grow and regrow and remember who we are. To the cosmic Lord for all of your knowledge and your wisdom. Thank you so much. Tlazokamati, Tlazokamati, Tlazokamati to our own hearts. And thank you for these beautiful souls that I got to sit and spend time with today in gratitude. Omateo, and so it is.
So it is. So thank you once again to DK for sharing with us today. And thank you to all of you who tuned into this. We really can't express. I mean, it's not enough just to say thank you so much and how grateful we are that you help support this process, but it's very helpful. And we hope that we can bring you the topics that are helpful to you, and that creating community is something we can do to make connections so that people can really experience all these beautiful different things that the spiritual world, the metaphysical world, just the world of the heart can offer, the beautiful world of energy and vibration. The universe is a great and magical place, as is the Earth Mother, and how awesome that we get to commune with all of these beautiful things. So thank you so much for being a part of this process. If you are watching us on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind, please hit that like button, the thumbs up, or subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it certainly helps us get in the algorithm so that we can reach other people and other souls with this process. And thanks again for being here. We really, really appreciate that. So having said that, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.